All members are present with the exception of Mr. Cornelius. At this time, we will stand and do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everyone should have a copy of the minutes from our last meetings. Does anybody have any additions or corrections? If not, we will let those stand as presented. Do you have claims, Mrs. Brown?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve all claims and payrolls as submitted.
Have a motion to approve the claims. Do I have a second from Mr. Owen? Anyone have any questions or concerns regarding the claims? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. 6-0. We have some donations.
Yes, we have a couple of donations to approve for this month, both going to the primary school. One's an anonymous donor for $100 to the dual language immersion. The primary team just wanted to leave a public thanks. We wish to express our heartfelt appreciation to the anonymous donor who generously contributed $100 to our dual language immersion program. Their support is invaluable and will make a positive impact on our students. And then the Community Foundation Alliance Alpha Psi Chapter Psi Iota Xi Fund for $500 to the Washington Primary Kindergarten for Read Across America supplies. And the primary team says we would like to express our sincere gratitude to the Community Foundation Alliance with a grant from Ms. Terry Ressler of Psi Iota Xi Washington, the fund advisor for the Alpha Psi chapter, for their incredibly generous donation of $500. The contribution will enable us to provide every kindergarten student with a book and a book buddy to celebrate Read Across America Week. This thoughtful gift will not only promote literacy and a love of reading among our youngest students, but also make the Read Across America celebration extra special. Thank you for your commitment to our students and our community.
Okay. I have a recommendation to approve those two donations. So I have a motion for that from Mrs. Brown, second for Mr. Miller. Questions? Definitely want to express the board's appreciation for those donations as well. Very much appreciated. All in favor of approval? 6-0. Information report.
I have a couple items this month for information report. First, we want to recognize our staff members of the month. Our staff recognition program that's sponsored by a big law firm. And looks like we have all three of our recipients here tonight. We have the principals and directors. Do you want me to read the statements? Okay. And so our first one is Laura Allison, who's an EL teacher, and she's nominated by our primary principal, Kristen Murphy. And Mrs. Murphy wrote, Miss Allison's dedication to Washington Community Schools is truly commendable. She has embraced her new role with enthusiasm and commitment, seamlessly managing a large caseload of students while making it look effortless. She goes above and beyond to maximize instructional time, creating a structured schedule that ensures both she and her aide can serve as many students as possible throughout the day. A true team player, Miss Allison extends her support beyond Washington Primary, assisting other schools in need. She has proactively coordinated with a high school student who speaks Haitian Creole to better support our students and meet teacher needs. Always willing to bridge the communication gap, she is quick to call parents whenever the office or teachers require assistance, taking her dedication even further. She has begun learning Haitian Creole to better connect with students and families, ensuring they feel welcomed and supported. Miss Allison consistently steps up to translate documents, make phone calls, and immerse herself in the community. She is a key contributor to our school's progress, volunteering her committees, assisting with documentation, and even taking on lunch duties when needed. As a firm believer in Kids at Hope, she embodies the spirit of our school's mission. Washington Primary is incredibly fortunate to have Miss Allison on our team. Her hard work and passion are truly making a difference. Thank you, Laura. Our next recipient is Tammy Braun with Sodexo Facilities, and she's nominated by the Facilities Director, Graham Giesler. And Graham wrote, I would like to recognize Tammy Braun as an Employee of the Month for her contributions over her 17 plus years of service for Washington Community Schools. Her reliability is unmatched. She consistently shows up for work day in and day out without fail. Tammy always exceeds expectations by completing her tasks with a level of quality that sets the standard for others. Her dedication extends beyond her custodial activities. She also drives a school bus for her corporation, which speaks volumes about her commitment to the community. In addition to her regular responsibilities, Tammy is one of a few employees that is always willing to work outside of scheduled hours for school activities and events, showing her willingness to go above and beyond for the benefit of our students and staff. Her proactive approach and positive attitude make her a valuable asset to our Sodexo team. Thank you, Tammy, for all of your hard work and dedication. Thank you, Tammy. Our final recipient this month is Bree Lamar, who's a resource teacher at Washington Upper Elementary, and Bree is nominated by our principal, Rhiannon Fry. And Mrs. Fry writes, this teacher consistently goes above and beyond in her dedication to our students. She is dependable, trustworthy, and reliable, embodying leadership both in her instructional practices and in her approach to working with our most challenging students. She brings positivity, laughter, and a sense of fun to our school environment, making it a brighter place for all. Beyond the classroom, she contributes significantly to student development by mentoring in volleyball and supporting various extracurricular activities. As a true team player, she is always willing to adapt and collaborate, ensuring that we create the best possible outcomes for our students. Her ability to solve problems thoughtfully and proactively, finding solutions that benefit all involved, is a testament to her commitment to excellence. Her care for and dedication to her students is evident in everything she does. We at Upper Elementary are fortunate to have her as part of our team. Thank you, Bree. If we could have all of our recipients come up real quick and we'll have a picture taken. Thank you again. Next, in our information report time, I've invited some of our high school team, led by our principal, Mr. Holland, to come up and talk a little bit about the high school redesign with the diploma, pathways, and the work that's going on with all of that. So if you guys can come up, we'll hand the meeting over to you guys.
All right. So really, I put the presentation together for the audience to kind of watch, but I got some checklist things in this handout for you that kind of shows you some of the things that we've been working towards and some of the changes, but yet some of the similarities. So kind of we're going to do two parts. I'll talk about the diploma requirement, the new diploma requirements, and then we'll go from there and talk about our what we call our crosswalk team with our partnership with ROI that kind of helps meet some of these and address some of these needs. So anyway, what I have for you is basically a breakdown. The Department of Ed, as we all know, had gone through a process of creating a new diploma, and they've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations through it. And in December, they finally put out their final draft. When we got it, there's a lot of reactions to it about how different it is and how high schools are going to be able to accommodate all the necessary changes and things. Learned a while ago that don't ever overreact. Things are going to settle down. We'll get more information. So when the final part came out, we looked at what was given to us, and then we started deciphering, like, okay, what are the things that we're doing now versus what are the things they're expecting? Okay. So the term pathway gets used all the time in 1,000 different directions now. So when you hear that phrase, it's oftentimes it's confused because we're hearing pathways meaning multiple things. So today, what really we're going to talk about more than anything than a pathway is the Department of Ed has given us a different direction. Okay, we're steering kids in directions to better accommodate their careers, their choices, their skills, in a path that's going to lead them for success, whatever that may be. The Department of Ed has really focused in on 3 areas, and I think it's always been there, but it's not been intentional about identifying what those 3 areas are. So they call them the 3 E's, and it's enlistment, employment, and enrollment. Okay, so enrollment would be your college kids. The enlistment obviously is your military, and then the employment is going into the workforce or possibly going to do some things with the trade school, getting into that employment area there. So those are the 3 E's, and so they keep everything in another phrase or key term that's used a lot are buckets. So they kind of keep you into these buckets on what your career path is going to be. So we looked at that, and again, we kind of compared it to what we've done in past. And I'll be honest with you, we really do everything that they're asking. We have to be more intentional with the things that we do now. There's a little more record keeping on behalf of what we're doing, and also we have to have it for everybody, because before it was a choice. Like there's like workplace job shadowments or getting an apprenticeship or an internship, making those connections and stuff, and that was for those that were interested. Now everybody has to do something towards that side, and that's what we're kind of pairing and trying to figure out the early direction. So when we look at this, the what I have given you is a hopefully an easy to read format on the front, just basically breaking down the different aspects of high school. So the other thing that the Department of Ed had done was they kind of taken away like grade level courses. Okay. So when you look at like English, it says English 9. And then after English 9 in a traditional Core 40, which I've attached a Core 40 diploma requirement sheet for you, would be English 10, and then English 11, and then English 12, and then you would have your honors or your AP classes and things that qualify for those as well. Well, what is given on the new is it's just saying English 9. And then under that, it says other credits. And then there's multiple ways of getting these additional credits. Maybe it is English 10, but maybe not, because it talks about communications, and then it just says some additional English credits. And they kind of do the same thing for math. They talk about Algebra 1, and then they talk about personal finance, and then what else qualifies. And so I attended a workshop last Friday, matter of fact, at SIEC in Huntingburg. And while I was there, what it was a presentation from the 3rd ranking member of the Department of Education talking about how our school is going to get to these 42 credits for our students. Because before, the Core 40 was only 40. Now we're at 42. How do we get to that with these requirements in place? And so the key phrase that they kept using was schools need to be creative. And I think that's important, because when we talk about achieving what each of these levels mean for the English and math and STEM and social studies and so forth and so on, is how do we get to those credits? It's not our traditional way of thinking anymore. They want us to think outside the box to get credit. And I'll give you for instance. You look at math, and math has 7 credits. You look at STEM, that's an acronym. What's the M in STEM? Math. So you can hit STEM and math with 1 class now. So you can get multiple classes covered, and it qualifies for multiple different areas. And so you can be very creative there. One of the other things they've done is they've taken away 1 semester of PE. You only have to have 1 credit now. So I want to backtrack a little bit. Credits are semesters, all right? So when we talk about credits, we're talking about semesters. So when it says 2 credits, So like English 9 is 2 credits. They're talking about an entire year of English 9. So just to clarify, so there's no confusion there. So when we start thinking about things like engineering, we know there's a lot of mathematics in engineering when it's being taught by Mr. Furman in our school. Some of those engineering classes will qualify for a mathematics class as well. So that will also be part of the math area that we're looking at when we're looking at our 7 credits, okay? Because it says additional math credits. So creative is the key piece that I took away from the meeting from the Department of Ed. I thought that was very important for us to understand is how do we get there? So the other part that's vastly different, because we're so used to Core 40 and academic and technical honor diplomas, Indiana has 1 diploma. It's the new Indiana diploma. That's the name of it. I guess I should have advanced this. So what we're going to talk about now, just shift gears a little bit, is how do kids that are college bound or whatever area there are heading in, going to get to what we would consider that academic level. So they've broken down 2 types of SILs. You have an honors SIL and an honors plus SIL. And they put them in 3 different areas. Your 3 E's, the enrollment, the employment, and the enlistment. And they talked, and they're on their list, how do they attain those SILs? So basically, this is an honors diploma. They're going to get a diploma with a SIL if they meet these criteria. We will have 0 problems with getting to this point. The only thing that's vague is that attendance goal. That's the hard part for us to figure out. And when we asked the DOE about this, they said, well, every school, because when they talk about an attendance goal, they're talking unexcused absences. They're not talking about excused, but unexcused. And they said that's the school corporation's policy. Whatever your policy is, which could vary from one corporation to another, will determine if they're going to meet their attendance goal. So that's really vague. So we'll have to hone in our skills on what we qualify as excused and unexcused absences. And what is an attendance goal? We don't have that. That's something new.
Is that something that would be like specific to the kid on them attending their work experience or just school in general?
They're talking about attending school, I believe,
Okay.
But that's not been identified specifically that's what it means. Because that question was asked and he couldn't answer that.
Okay.
So my guess is it's kind of twofold, that if you're attending school, then this would go along with it. You shouldn't be attending workplace opportunities if you're not going to school. So I think it's kind of twofold built in, but it was, like I said, that's the part that we're not real clear on. The good news about this is, if you notice, this starts with the class of 2029, which are our current 8th graders or incoming freshmen for next year. So to get to this point from their freshman to their senior year, there's going to be a lot of changes that will happen with our diplomas in terms of rearranging classes and getting them to meet those requirements. Now, we are going to be expecting that all of our students, they're going to be qualifying for one of these honor SILs. There's not a reason not to. I kind of look at it like we're going to put them where they need to be. Then if they want to opt out of the honor SIL or don't quite qualify, they're still getting their diploma. But let's try to get one of these SILs, because every one of them will have a different path on how they're going to achieve it. So we're going to put them in a path towards a SIL, so that they at least have that, will have that on their diploma as they go forward. And we'll have those discussions as we venture on. So, we have like the work-based learning, it's in place already. We just are going to have more partnerships with community partners to get this rolling. And we'll talk in a moment, whenever I bring the team up here, about some things, some initiatives that we're working on that will help achieve this as well with the partnerships. But the work-based learning piece, if we divide up those 75 hours of work-based learning, whether it's paid, unpaid, on-site, simulated, or whatever, that's a couple of weeks of school. That's not very much. So sometimes when we quantify hours, we're like, man, that's a lot of hours, 75. And then you think about, we're at school 7 hours a day. So 75 of that is in 35 of that is in 1 week. So it's a little over a couple of weeks of getting that experience. So the simulated part, and then not necessarily everything's on site. So we can achieve all of this, I feel like, very easily for what we do. So I'll go backwards again, and I talked about earlier, Mr. Barnard, Ms. Yoakum, and I talked about these changes. And the biggest thing that we noticed was we have so much in place that it doesn't affect us a lot. We're going to do some shifting. Some teachers will have to do some different things. But, I was fortunate enough the other day to have a chance to talk to the Rotary Club about this. And one of the things I mentioned to them is actually it's going to give us more opportunities to teach more with what we currently have, because we're going to be able to do a couple of classes count for multiple things. Now it opens up like all these other opportunities that our staff can look at teaching. So I think that in the long term, it's really going to give us a better and a broader perspective for our students. And I think ultimately the goal is we're intentional and we're putting kids in directions, right? Even more so. So, Mr. Browning and I just had a conversation before we started the meeting about Mr. Showtai's 7th grade that teaches the kids before they get to his preparing for college and careers class in 8th grade. They're already doing a lot of these types of things in 7th grade. So by the time they get to us in 9th grade, it's just a continuation of what's already started. So that process has already been going for a couple of years by that point. I'm not disappointed in what happened with the changes of our diplomas. I think the hardest part is some of these questions that we don't have answers to. I think we'll be able to get to those. We'll get a better understanding as we move forward with this. But I think for our kids, man, I mean, just think about this. One of the things I always do is I always try to be full circle, making decisions in my position. And when I do that, I always put myself in the parents' shoes, the teacher's shoes, the kids' shoes. And I'm thinking, when we were freshmen, what would this have done for our career path? Would it have reaffirmed what we're doing now? Would it have changed? Just for instance, as I was coming out of high school going into college, my last 2 years of high school I was going to be an accountant. That first accounting class that I had in college, there's no way I'm being an accountant. Not happening. So I think the other side of this is we're not always gearing a kid and pushing him in that direction that's what they got to be. But sometimes it's also doing the opposite, which is eliminating a lot of things that they aren't interested in. So it's like, I kind of had an idea, and Mr. Riney and I have had conversations. He's got a story as well about that. He wanted to do something. He had an opportunity to do a job shadow, and it's like, no, that's not me. I thought I wanted it, and that's not going to be what direction I want. So I think, again, we're being intentional about how we're directing and guiding kids towards that diploma path and being successful with the skills that they're learning and the knowledge they're getting from us. And I think ultimately they're just going to be better prepared. I will say this, my team, when we get up here in a moment, I say my team, our team, is that we're really at the forefront. There are people throughout the state of Indiana that are looking at Washington, Indiana, and Washington High School and what we are doing, because we're so far ahead of the game from what other school districts are doing. So that I can't take credit for. That's been in place for a while, but that's something we're going to continue to do. And we're excited about that, because not only are we at the forefront, but it also keeps us on our toes of always looking out for what's next. And how do we help our kids on getting what we need? And I think ultimately the goal is for us here is it's going to better our community. And I think that's an important piece, because a lot of us in here that graduated from here, we've been outside of here and have come back for a reason. And, I felt like all of us who have done that, we made our community better. And so the more that we can do this with our kids, it'll also help with our community as well. At this point, I won't want to take much more time because we got our team coming up, but I would be happy to answer other questions if you have any.
How does this affect like weighted classes? Is it still like honors classes are still weighted as far as the GPA?
Yeah,
and all that
none of the academic stuff in terms of like GPA and all that, none of that's affected. Just how they're getting from their freshman to their senior year, that alignment's it's going to be a little different, but it's not going to affect those. It's not going to affect our early college. None of that stuff is going to be affected. if anything, it'll help.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, well, guys, I appreciate it. You can be in charge of the clerk
Okay,
or Brownie. or-
we gave this same presentation yesterday to the teachers, so Brian started that one for us too.
I guess I'll start us off. So one of the other initiatives that kind of goes along with our new diplomas that we have, and actually we started it before we even knew that a lot of this was going to be part of the new diplomas, is we got a partnership with ROI. So with this partnership, what we've done is we are in groups that met monthly, and it always seemed to align with our professional development days for some reason, but it always seemed to be on those days that we met. And we met up at Westgate, and it was an all-day training for multiple days. And our partnership, the whole time we were there, was to focus in on serving our students, okay, and aligning them in these career paths that we have talked about. And so what we're looking at is we are making some changes, and we thought, what better way of making changes when we have new diplomas coming up, and we just got some different initiatives going on. I've got a freshman mentor program, and we're getting ready to start as well. So this is the right time to do this. And so what we're doing is a school-wide initiative, and it involves our entire team, Mr. Riney, Ms. Clark, Ms. Bissey, Ms. Yoakum, and Mr. Browning, and Mr. Peterson's part of this as well. And what we have done was we looked at our school in totality, and we decided that we need to do something that gives every kid an experience. And we're going to log this experience based upon what year they're at, and all the way through into their senior year. And when they hit that senior year, they're going to have a showcase demonstration that they're going to put on twice. And basically, it's just showing what they've accomplished with their career development from their freshman year all the way until their senior year, and all the skills that they develop, and the communications that they've received, the types of involvement that they've had. Excuse me, with community partners, work site visits, just basically their journey is what we're calling it, is their journey from their freshman to their senior year, and they get to show that off come their senior year whenever they have their showcase. So we're excited about this. So basically we're calling this our pathway team, and there's that phrase again I talked about, pathways. But this is our pathway team, and everybody, we have 15 pathways or 15 areas that have been identified by a survey that we put out to our student body. And we have grouped our teachers to be leaders, and we're going to put teams together based upon their interests, their career interests, and they're going to be focused, and they're going to be centered on that. Focus will be centered based upon their pathway day and on what direction they're going to go. So they may be going to health and health and medicine, or they might be going to computer science. I mean, there's, like I said, there's 15 different ones that we put out there. There's a few that are undecided. They're not being left out because they're going to meet with Miss Bissey, and she's going to have some one-on-one appointments with them to get them in a direction so we can get them into one of these 15 categories. Or if we feel like we need to add something because we missed the boat, then we'll look at that option as well. So our pathway days basically are going to be coinciding with our professional development days. So our professional development days are going to be allowing our teachers to work in their groups with their other teachers that are helping out. And they're going to be organizing various activities. So each year, so whether they're freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, they got something different they're working towards. Okay, and we'll get into that here in a moment. Mr. Riney, when he takes over, we'll start talking about what each level is going to be each level will be doing. But most importantly, every kid along the way will have these opportunities, whether they're going out of the building or they're going to be in our building. And we're going to have the following day, after our professional development, the day that we implement what we already had set up during our professional development day. So it's a quick turnaround. And then we have a follow-up after that on the Friday or the Monday, depending on how the days work out, on, what we're going to do, the feedback part, the stuff that we know that we need to either work on the next time, or if they got it, or a different direction that we need to head into. Okay. Ronnie, you ready to roll?
I think you kind of.
Oh, you still got me going here?
But I think you hit everything.
Yeah.
And we'll be happy to share this with you, but we shared this with our staff yesterday. You look up there, I look at these things like you see the word field trip, job shadow, presentations, career exploration, career fairs, and college visits, and so forth. We do all those things, but not every kid does. Every kid will have this opportunity now. We're going to make sure that they all get this opportunity, and depending on what grade level they're at, will determine which one of these they're doing. But the field trips and job shadowing and presentations, we do all those things now. So I think, this is just more intentional on what we're doing. I feel like our planning sessions that we've had whenever we were up at Westgate were very productive, and I feel like we got a really good handle on how we want to implement this going forward. So now I'm going to let Mr. Ronnie talk more about the why. Actually, it's Ms. Clark. She's going to talk about the why.
Like the why right here, because there's a lot going on. There's going to be a lot of information in this. We're talking about the why, the what, the how. Why are we doing pathway days? Essentially, it's just we need to get kids thinking about their careers or their lives past high school. And we've said that a lot. We've said that for years, but these days are intentional for them actually getting out there and viewing what real life is like. Okay, and we're going to do that for every kid. So that's essentially the why right there. So Ms. Clark, you're up with the what.
Okay, all right. So I have taught freshmen and sophomores for the past 8, 9, 10 years, and I'd ask them, what do you want to do after you graduate from high school? And they would say, oh, we don't know. Maybe this area, maybe that area. We really don't know. And I'd be, okay, you're a freshman, sophomore. You have time to figure it out. Now I have juniors, and I'm asking them, and they're saying, I don't know. I don't have a clue. And I'm like, okay, you need to apply for college next semester. And this is the spring semester of your junior year. So what we're doing on these pathway days is going to help them hopefully figure that out before the last semester of their junior year, before they apply for colleges in the fall of their senior year. So what we are doing, so the pathway days, there's going to be some 1-hour days and there's some 2-hour days. Okay, there's going to be 1 2-hour day each semester. And these are the goals of those 2-hour days. The 1-hour days work up to these goals. So starting with the seniors, I'm going to start with the seniors, they are going to put together a presentation of everything that they've done over the course of their 4 years of high school. And in the fall semester, in November, they are going to put on a showcase for the freshmen. And the freshmen we're going to put them all in the gym, up around the gym, in the hallways around the gym, all over the place right there. And the freshmen are going to walk through and they're going to talk to those different seniors and they're going to find out what they did to get to where they are now. Okay, we are implementing this next year. And so the seniors have a lot of work to do in the fall semester there to get a presentation put together. But hopefully over the course of the next 3 years, it'll get smoother and smoother and smoother, especially with our teachers helping and doing the same thing over and over again, just with different kids. So then the spring semester, those seniors will put on a presentation, change it a little bit because they've gone through basically their senior year. And in late April, they are going to give that to our local community partners. So we will invite all of those people in and they will go around. I think as of right now, we've got the same setup. And so they will move throughout and they will learn about what these seniors have done. And then that's the senior year. So freshmen are watching those presentations and going through and kind of making plans in their head of what they could be doing in the fall semester. Then in the spring semester, they are going to identify a person, a professional, and they are going to conduct an interview with that person. They are going to do it by phone or in person. We can allot some time. We can work out when that can occur within those pathway days or even within homeroom time. And then they are going to present to their peers what they found out. Okay, because these kids are all going to be, all of the business kids, all the business freshmen are going to be there together. Okay, then sophomores, they are going to figure out a field trip or to a college or a business related to their pathway. And then the year 2 in spring semester, they are going to research how they are going to get into that career. So what are the different levels of education that are required in that area? Where could they stop? How much is it going to cost? Where are they going to go to school? What's the best school for that? And all of those questions be answered in the spring semester of their sophomore year. Then moving into their junior year, job shadowing and putting together their portfolio so that they have to do less the fall semester of their senior year. Now, what if a kid wants to jump ship? So they decide to do business and then they say, oh, I don't want to do this in the middle of their freshman year, and they go to, they want to go to agriculture. Well, we will have a system set in place where they will have to meet with our career counselor and our career counselor, Ms. Bissy, and their guidance counselor, and try to figure out why they're making that shift so that they don't just want to be in class with their buddies and do things that their buddies like to do. It needs to be individualized. And also another thing to note is if they don't complete the goal, if they don't do those things, they are not going to move on to the next year. So if you don't conduct an interview your freshman year, you're not going to go on a field trip your sophomore year until that interview is conducted. Okay, we can put them on a fast track so that they can get done with it in 9 weeks, 6 weeks, however long it takes them, but then they can then move on. Now, if they jump ship, if they want to go back and conduct an interview, by all means, go back and conduct an interview. You're not going to learn less, right? So it's kind of up to them, but it's important to know that it is their path. Everybody has an individual path to how they got to where they are now. And so they're just following their path as we go.
Main thing, what you're trying to say, Ms. Clark, right, is if somebody's in ag for 2 years and they decide to switch to business in year 3, it's not like they have to take the first 2 years all over again.
That's right. Unless
They're
they really want to.
Yeah.
If they really feel the need to go conduct an interview with somebody, by all means, they can. Okay, as a way to keep track of these things that these kids are doing, they are going to have an online portfolio. Each semester has its own document. So we have created templates, or we're in process of creating all of the templates, and they will just have to fill in the white space, answer the questions, and move on to the next question as they move through the 1 hour pathway days, the 2 hour pathway day. And then at the end, there's always a reflection. So we will have the 1 hour pathway days in August, September, October, then the 2 hour one in November, and then there'll be one right after that to immediately reflect upon what they did on that 2 hour pathway day. And so all 8 of these together collectively will be their portfolio that gives the path of how they got to where they are.
It's what the seniors will use for their presentations, like they've collected this over their 3 years already. So by the time they're there the 4th year, they just kind of put it all together, whether it's something physical on poster board or digital, slideshow like this, they'll have it to showcase right there. Good?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay,
No, you're right.
so the how, like how will these days be implemented? Okay, we showed you, why we're doing them, what they are, how they're gonna do it. The students are gonna enroll in a pathway class by grade level. Okay, on their schedules, they've already been given their schedules and everything. There's a new section right there that has 15 choices about like 15 different career paths, and they're gonna choose one. And, for example, there's a business pathway. All the juniors in the business pathway will be put in the same class. Every teacher there in the middle, every teacher will have a pathway class, so, someone might have the first year business pathway class. Someone else might have the third year computer science pathway class, and so on. And there on the far right, the teacher's role will be to guide the students through the designed activities during each pathway day and help students create their student portfolios. Essentially, again, we're giving them experiences and opportunities, the means to get those experiences and opportunities to get out in the real world to see what the real world is like and what it's about. All right, meeting times. Essentially, these are just going to happen 5 times a semester. All right. They're always the 1 hour pathway days. They're always going to be the following Thursday or Friday after a pre-planned 2-hour delay Wednesday PD day. And the teachers are going to be working during those professional development days to help plan for all of these right here. And then what Ms. Clark was saying, the larger days, the 2-hour pathway days, the first semester right there is November 20th, and the second semester is April 30th. So those are the Thursdays after a 2-hour release day. And then the last 1-hour pathway day will immediately follow the 2-hour pathway days right there, kind of as a wrap up. Hey, this is what we did. Hey, let's finish up our portfolios. Let's do all this together. And let's make sure we catalog these experiences. It's really cool that the new diploma requirements are pushing us to do things like that, to really get the kids thinking about this in their life after high school. But then it's really neat that we've taken it a step farther, documenting their journey so that they can share, and everything, and hopefully have something to be proud of at the end of it. These are currently our pathway offerings. Okay, we have 15 different offerings right here, and the English teachers were kind enough to let us survey all their students. So these are the numbers after each of these offerings are the number of kids that were interested in this particular pathway. So 716 current 9th through 12th graders took this. And what was interesting is only 6 of them chose undecided. So I thought that was pretty neat. But you can kind of see how things fit in. Based on what they said, we changed some of these pathways. We never had a cosmetology pathway, but there were so many kids that, said they wanted to be a part of it and everything. We put that out there. And we combined a few like foreign language and communication, social media. So we kind of put that all in the communications right there and so on. So it's an interesting health and medicine. If you haven't seen, 187 out of those 716 picked health and medicine. So we already know we're probably going to have to devote more teachers to that pathway right there. Pretty neat experience all the way around. So that gets us to our next steps. And again, we did this with the teachers yesterday, but we planned ample opportunity for questions because that's a lot of information in a short amount of time. It's going to be a lot of work, but I think it's going to be good work, and it's going to open up a lot of doors and opportunities for our kids. Do you guys have any questions? We already had the teachers sign up for different pathways. We already know with the staffing that we have, we're going to have to combine a few classes. Probably, off the top of my head, I could see us combining the computer science and engineering groups together. That would help us out and everything. But after that, we had all the year 1 teachers and year 2 teachers and year 3 teachers, all the teachers by a year. After they signed up, started planning, we gave them checklists that we all had filled out, saying, hey, these are what needs to get done. And they started planning that, and we're going to continue that in April. All right, so if there's no questions, thank you.
Just appreciate all the work that you guys put into it. Thank you.
Real quick on the 1 and 2 hour days that we're talking about, it'll be we're going to run, we have different schedules in our handbook. So on the 1 hour days, we're gonna do our 1 hour delay, but we'll use that time up to our first period.
1 hour homeroom.
I'm sorry, 1 hour homeroom. I'll get to the 1 hour homeroom that will run on that day. So it's built into the school day. And then the 2 hour delay that we showed on there we'll run our 2 hour delay schedule. And then those 2 hours will be built in for these pathways. So they'll be in those pathway teachers for that time. And then they'll still have their regular scheduled day based upon our homeroom or our delay schedule. So.
And the goal is for them to get all that stuff done during the 2 hours, but we also understand that that might not happen. Like I take a great trip over the VU, over the Tim Hedricks area over there and with computer science and the advanced manufacturing section. And it's a great field trip for the kids, but we couldn't make it over there back in 2 hours, so but it would still be good. Maybe we'll take half the day. We just understand that. Job shadowing, if 2 hours is enough to job shadow, that's fine. Or maybe a kid needs to take half a day in order to job shadow, we'll just coordinate that and we'll do what's best for the kids.
Like going back to the diploma, like all of these experiences apply to that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm saying. This all works hand in hand. Yeah.
An example is what the underclassmen have to attend a job fair. Is that right? Well, our career fair, it's going to be the senior showcase where they're showing them the different careers and the different jobs that are out there. And, so the seniors are putting that on for our freshmen, and that checks off the whole career fair thing for freshmen. So there you go.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Oh, okay, and as we're transitioning to the next portion, which I think is my part, I want to point out up there, the 6 undecided. That truly is a culmination of a district-wide effort. This district is pretty cut, I'm the tip of the spear, cutting edge. Oh, you go ahead and change it over for me.
Are you ready for the video?
Yeah. With the kids at Hope and the things that we're doing and, the touch of trucks and bringing in and thinking about their futures and things like that, having the job coaches at the junior high level and the upper. I mean, when Mr. Browning, I think, first did this survey, 2 or 3 years ago, we had close to 40 undecided kids. And, I remember being disappointed because the very first time we did this, we had 0 kids interested in education. And, now to see this at 33, I mean, that's pretty good. And so it's a testament. I mean, Mr. Holland was absolutely correct. We are at the forefront in a lot of this. And so the work is collective, and I just wanted to point that out.
Ready?
Yep.
Hello, Washington High School Pathway Leadership Team. I was told you are preparing for the next phase of the College and Career Academy development, and I wanted to share some encouragement and also let you know how proud I am of the work you are leading for your school district. Matt, Valerie, Eric, Allison, Jesse, Brian, and Heather, thank you for the work you are doing to prepare students for what comes next, whether that is enrolling in a 2 or 4 year college or university, heading straight into the workforce, or serving in our nation's military. In Indiana, we are laser focused on ensuring that high school truly prepares every student for personal and professional success, helping them to maximize their educational attainment, regardless of their unique goals and aspirations for the future. And by engaging students based on their career interests and aligning with the new diploma, the Pathway Leadership Team is truly at the forefront of this work. Thanks again for all you do for Indiana students, and keep up the great work.
Cool. You want to talk about your Title I?
Sure. So then the next portion is what's called an Ed Flex waiver request. basically in title funds, you get to roll over a certain amount of unspent funds from one year to the next. That has a 15% cap on it unless you apply for an Ed Flex waiver. And in doing so, you then get to carry over 25% of the unspent funds that you may have. One of the requirements of that Ed Flex waiver is that we tell the public that we're applying for an Ed Flex waiver. So this is at a public meeting. This is us saying we're going to apply, and if the board or the community has any questions about it, now's the time to ask. Otherwise, I just submit this as part of the application to roll over 25% instead of 15.
I've got one final information report that's, I think people will find informative. I received an update from our design build consultant, Criterion consultant, Daniel Rollins yesterday. Yesterday was the closing of the time period for firms to submit their qualifications. So he's provided me with I'm just going to read it from him because it provides a nice summary on that. So legal notice of request for qualifications was published on March 4th, 2025 for the Washington Community Schools Progressive Design Build Project. This legal notice is an open call to the design and construction industry to form design build teams in order to propose on the project. In addition to the legal notice, we directly contacted 39 Indiana companies that provide architectural, engineering, or construction services to inform them of the opportunity in advance of the publication of the notice. The notice was also sent to area plan rooms that provide information to the industry concerning public procurement opportunities. Companies are free to make their own business decision of whether or not to respond to the solicitation and with whom to team. The deadline for a design build team to submit a verified statement of qualifications was 2 p.m. on March 19th, 2025. 4 teams submitted qualifications by the deadline. The next step in the process will be for the technical review committee to meet in a public session to review the qualifications of each team and create a short list of the 3 most highly qualified teams that will be invited to submit proposals. So that meeting will be on April 1st at 1 p.m. here in the boardroom. Tim and Jason are members of the technical review team. Mrs. Murphy is, Graham Giesler is, I think he's left already. I think since the board's been sitting here, since our executive committee, he sent an email to the technical review committee. So you 3 will have access to the 4 proposals so that you can start learning about those. And then Daniel will be here in person to lead you guys through that process of narrowing it down to 3, and then he'll be in communication with them for that next step of them submitting proposals. Anybody have any other questions on that? But you know, he was pretty happy. He felt like we should be happy that we got 4. You know, competition's good, and there'll be some work for the technical review committee to narrow it down to 3. So
Very good news. Exciting.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for everything, the information report that we went through there. All right. At this time, we will open the floor for patron statements regarding agenda topics. Signed up. All right. Moving on. Personnel. Looks like we have some resignations.
Yes. Had a late resignation that came in today, but we appreciate Mrs. Johnson, Emily Johnson, a high school math teacher, providing this to us now. She's learned that she will be moving out of state this summer. So I am recommending that the board accepts the resignation of Emily Johnson, high school math teacher.
Effective year end, I guess.
Effective at the end of the school.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. I have a recommendation to approve this resignation. Do I have a motion for that from Mr. Hedrick? Second from Mr. Miller. Anybody else have any questions? All in favor? 6-0. No leaves.
No leaves.
Appointments.
On appointments, for this month, we have a few. First, would like to recommend the hire of Brandon Beatles, into an IT assistant position. Would like to recommend Rachel Wildman for a substitute teacher for the intermediate, long-term leave of absence. Beverly Hartz for a substitute teacher for the intermediate school for a long-term leave of absence. And then we have a list of names here for our summer remediation that will start in May and go into June. And this is our summer iRead program for grades 2 and 3. And we have Amy Batten, Melissa Harmon, Mary Saccarello, Kristen LaFollette, Chelsea Travelstead, Jordan Bennington, Ashley Dubon, Alan Gonwer, Deborah Goodman, Bridget Fellers, and Mackenzie Dodder-Weich. And I've got two late ones that I'm going to read off. They're not on your agendas, but they're in line with this. Mr. Wildman just got with me today. Veal is going to do an after-school tutoring portion of iRead remediation. The intermediate is 2. The intermediate gets to use the Title I grant to pay those teachers the after-school hours beyond their contract with that stipend. Title I stipends like that, we don't run through the board. Veal's not a title school, so we would pay those teachers with our education account. So we have to run those through the board. And so it's 10 hours each for Amy Klein or Rochelle Evans to facilitate after-school iRead tutoring that would begin here in April and go through May. The goal with that, with both schools, intermediate and Veal, is through the after-school portion, those kids will get to take a retake right at the end of the school year before we enter summer. If they pass then they don't have to come to summer school. The ones that don't pass on the first retake come to summer school with us, and then we'll get basically a second retake at the end of that. And, that's where we hope we get as many of them to cross the finish line as we can.
Okay. Everybody good with doing this in a vote approval? Okay, I have a recommendation to approve these personnel appointments. I have a motion for that from Mr. Homer, a second from Mr. Hedrick. Any questions? All in favor? 6-0. ECA appointments.
ECA appointments, we have a few here, mainly spring sports. The baseball ones we've added back on here. There's some adjustments to what was approved before. So for JV baseball, be a split stipend between Austin Fox and Bob Paget. High school assistant baseball is Austin Moody. Junior high girls track volunteer, Solomon Davis. Junior high cheer for the 25-26 school year, Amanda Morgan. Junior high baseball volunteer, Matthew Kimmel. Junior high baseball volunteer, Dirk Rhodes. And boys golf volunteer, Dominic DePass.
We're good to approve all those in a vote. Okay. A recommendation to approve the ECA appointments. Do I have a motion? Mrs. Browning, a second from Mr. Miller. Any questions? All in favor? 6-0. No other?
No other.
Any old business?
No old business.
Moving on to new business. Looks like we're gonna talk about the handbooks.
First item under new business, in the past, we've just put the handbooks on our agenda and 1 month asked you to review and we pass, but it makes sense to treat these like we do board policy and do 2 months, a first reading and a second reading. So I guess we've got the links there. They're Google documents for the high school, junior high, and elementary handbook. If you have any questions or feedback, either now or in the coming weeks that you want to give me that we want to go back on and look at anything, we certainly can. And then the goal would be to bring these back to you in April for final approval and have them ready to go for next school year.
Okay. So no action item here, just calling this a first reading.
Yes.
And Some of our handbooks are quite extensive, so I don't think anybody wants to read them all right here tonight. So take your time and look those over, and if you have any questions, I know I've asked a question or two, and it looks like a lot of good changes and a lot of cleaning up.
It's a lot of
policies.
cleaning up, during our monthly admin meetings, and the principals on their own time too, especially the elementary team, have worked together. Some of the recent Neola board updates, like the AI policy we just passed back in February, we've got that in there. I think there was a Neola update last fall on what documentation are we going to accept as a district to approve residents. And so that's something that's not been in the handbook that the principals deal with a lot, that we felt like needed to be in the handbook. So a lot of it's cleaning up. And there's some tweaks. I think the e-learning, it's a change from what's been in the handbooks in the past, but it really is more now describes how we've been doing e-learning here for the last 2 years. So it's a lot of that sort of stuff.
All right. Nobody has any questions. We'll move on to the talk about moratorium weeks next summer.
Okay, would like to recommend that the board approves the 2-week moratorium. So no athletic teams would be doing anything there from June 23rd to July 5th. I think the second week of that is the statewide IHSAA moratorium portion.
I think this is something we started last year. We voluntarily added a week to moratorium.
Yes.
I think that's great for our kids. They spend a lot of time with their athletics, and they could use a little time off. A recommendation to approve the 2-week moratorium. To have a motion from Mrs. Browning, second from Mr. Omer. All in favor of approval? 6-0. Okay, the lease agreement.
So we'd like to recommend the board approve the lease resolution approving the form of the lease agreement. And I'm just going to read the executive summary that Eric Long with Ice Millers provided us, just so that everyone has an understanding of what this is. The school corporation is funding this project through a lease financing, as it has done with other past construction renovation projects. Lease financings are used by school corporations across Indiana in order to borrow for renovation and construction. This type of financing does not count against the school corporation's constitutional debt allowance. The building corporation will purchase the Washington Primary School building, including real estate on which addition will be constructed at the closing for at least the appraisal value. The building corporation will then lease that real estate back to the school corporation. The leased rental due from the school corporation will be paid from property taxes. The lease rental, as shown as a maximum amount in the lease agreement, will be sufficient to pay the principal and interest due to the bondholders. Any questions on that?
This was a question as we had our meetings with Ice Miller and talking about things. It goes back to something that was put in the state constitution years ago. It's a standard practice for school corporations. If you want to do anything above a certain percentage, that probably when that was approved was plenty of room to do some things, but it's not been changed. And this is the way that you make things happen, I guess.
Right.
So I have a recommendation to approve the lease agreement resolution. Do I have a motion for that? Mr. Hedrick, second from Mr. Miller. Any other questions on that? All in favor of approval? 6-0. Let's talk about some trips.
So we have our junior high STEM teacher, Mrs. Tammy Delisle, that would like to have your approval to start planning for a STEM discovery tour type of trip. I don't think we've offered here anytime recently, at least, but she's looking to take a group of students to Boston, Massachusetts, that would be a STEM-focused trip, including visiting MIT and, some sightseeing and things there during the spring break of 2026.
All right, have a recommendation to approve the STEM Discovery Tour trip in 2026. To have a motion for that, Mr. Elmer, second from Mr. Miller. Anybody have any questions on the trip? Sounds pretty awesome. Get to go to MIT, yeah. Yeah. You know anybody out that way?
Well, south of there.
All right, all in favor of approval? 6-0. Wins trip.
And Mr. Burris has submitted a request for the band to travel to the WGI Winds World Championships, which is in April here, April 11th through the 13th. It's part of the Indoor Winds competition. Will this be year 3 that they've attended?
This is second year.
Second year.
Trip.
Okay, so they attended last year, and this is an opportunity. If you were there on Tuesday for the DSI basketball game, the halftime show with the Winds, it amazes me and just gives me this crazy sense of pride with like how good they just continue to get with how they sound, with all the props, and so this gives them an opportunity to go compete against Indoor Winds classes or band programs from all around the country, and then get feedback from musical teachers and directors that know a lot about it, and then I think there's a little bit of sightseeing. Do they get a little break?
We did last year, but we hope we don't this year. We hope we're too busy competing.
Okay.
So, but yes, they did go to I believe it's the Air Force Museum in Dayton, and that's a catch-22. The kids really want to go back. They really want to be too busy to go back.
Yes.
So.
Good.
All right, I have a recommendation to approve the Winds World Championships trip. I have a motion for that. Mrs. Browning, a second from Mr. Hedrick. All in favor of approval? 6-0. Any other? No other. Anybody want to talk on non-agenda topics tonight? No.
I would like to invite you all to the robotics competition next weekend. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Plan to be there. It's a very exciting thing and a big deal for our students, our school, and our community. And very much appreciate what it takes to put something like that on. Obviously we've got a good leader, but we've got a good group of boosters and people and other teachers that are helping make that happen. So personally appreciate that.
It's a great community effort from everyone. So it's awesome to get to put, Washington's name out for doing all that.
How many different schools represented?
There's 26 teams, so that's including us, all over the state of Indiana and one from Michigan. 3-day event. So like I said before, they're staying at local hotels, eating at local restaurants. Estimated $400,000 in local economic impact that weekend.
Nice.
We think 2,000 to 2,500 people will be here.
Pretty awesome. And nice to see another way we can use our facilities.
We're actually renting a giant tent to connect our 2 gyms, because our junior high gym is where the pits are, and then the high school gym will be the competition field. And so, it is nice use of our facilities, and I think it would be a great way to showcase too, how we kind of some updates for our facilities too. Because what if it rains? We're kind of in trouble.
Yep. All right. Information items.
Next regular board meeting will be April 17th, 7 p.m. The building corporation that we're forming will meet at 6 o'clock with Eric Long, and they'll get organized and have some initial action to take. But that's kind of related to that resolution. So that meeting will happen at 6, and then we'll have our regular board meeting at 7. Just want to wish everyone a fun and safe spring break. We've made it. And we'll be into April, and then the sprint to the end of the school year will be on. So here we are.
All right, I know I want to congratulate all our winter athletes. I think most of those seasons are over now. We're heading into spring, but had a lot of success. Seeing a lot of success with our band, our choir. Things are very bright in Washington, Indiana, in my opinion. Anybody else have anything they'd like to bring before the board? Yes, sir. Who wants to go first?
I'll let Steve go.
I just want to commend Matt Riney and the entire robotics team for handling that trip and that accident and, taking care of our kids and keeping them, safe and, congratulations. I believe Mr. Frank's mentor at
It
Zionsville.
was an epic,
Yeah.
just a colleague
Yeah.
at
And
Zionsville.
give him
Yeah.
pizza and all that. And in spite of that, we did pretty well.
Yeah, I never want to go through that Friday again. Yeah. One team ended, 6th, the Lions captain, which was pretty good. Another team finished 20th. There were 40 teams there.
We might almost have to direct you to go around and not go on 465.
It could have been a lot worse than what it was. It was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were there until 1 a.m. with some students at the hospital, but it worked out. So turned into a good trip out there.
Mr. Miller.
Well, I'd love to, hopefully it's a safer trip for all the students, but Mississippi has 2 teams, circuit breaker teams going to robotics this
That's
Saturday. State contest. So
Good luck
that's
to them
exciting.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Junior high has a team. Junior high has a team as well going this weekend.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah.
Busy.
Bright future. All right, if no one has anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hedrick, second from Mr. Miller, all in favor? Meeting adjourned.
Yeah. I'm glad I ate before I came. I would have been hungry.